How's it going, everyone? This is Beard of Kanto, and today I'm going to talk about selling Japanese cards on TCGPlayer. All right, so I have pulled up here the TCGPlayer and what is, I think this is what, Super Electric Breaker I have pulled up. Yeah, so you can see now that you can buy uh, Japanese cards. Pokemon Japan it has it listed as on TCGPlayer now. So how I got to this page was I just clicked on Pokemon. You can do shop all Japanese, or I picked a particular set. So let's try like let's do Paradise Dragon. So yeah, you can buy these Japanese cards now. That's something that um, I don't think was supported until maybe a couple months ago. But I just wanted to talk about my experience so far selling Japanese on TCGPlayer because it's new. Um, I figured it's something that might be helpful for other people, especially if they have Japanese cards that they've been selling, whether it's on eBay or maybe they just haven't been selling them as much because you can't do it. Uh, so the way that you actually list these cards, I think that's the first thing I want to cover, is unlike English where you can scan it on the app, at least I haven't found any way yet to scan Japanese cards on the TCGPlayer app. So the way that I've had to do it is I'll come over here to inventory, and then maybe I want to list a Charizard EX from Japanese 151. So what you do is you select the product line. And instead of Pokemon, you're going to go down further and you're going to go to Pokemon Japan. So you click that. Now I can search for Charizard EX, and then here's the Charizard EX for the Japanese 151. You'll be able to tell from the set. So I could narrow this down a little bit more to SV2A, which is Japanese 151. So Pokemon card 151 right here, and that'll give me all the Charizard EXs in 151. So if I wanted to list this card, I'd just come over here and list it, manually the same way you do English. But as far as I've been able to tell, you can't do it through the app and then import a list and do all that jazz, which makes it really easy. Hopefully they support that in the future, but currently this is how I'm listing them. The next thing I wanted to talk about was my experience so far listing them, because prior to this, I listed them on eBay. And one of the things I love about TCGPlayer is you don't really have to put up an image, a picture of the card for each listing. You just list your card, uh, you put your price, how many you have, and then you're done. You can optionally add an image, and maybe for some of these higher value cards like this, might be worth it. But if you're listing, maybe a couple of these, there's just no reason to upload an image for every one of those. So setting up listings on eBay for me just was time consuming. But creating or adding inventory on TCGPlayer is relatively quick. So I personally have loved being able to sell my Japanese cards on TCGPlayer. Um, Now, the what I found is that it's a little bit tough because some cards, this card's really popular, uh, so it has a market price established, but there's other cards that aren't. So I don't know. Let's go to. I'm just gonna say Squirtle. Let's not limit it to 151 because that is a popular set. Um, let's see. This one has listed. That's pretty popular. But let's try. I don't know. Here's like a tag team one. Looks like most of these. Maybe I shouldn't have picked Squirtle since he's a popular Pokemon in general. Same here, but you can see like moderately played. I mean, there's no market price. There's a lot of cards still in the Japanese realm here that don't have market prices for certain conditions or even for near mint at all. So uh, generally, I'll just use price charting and put in a price that I think it should go for. Um, and sometimes I've listed these a little bit higher, and I think my advice to you is if you have a bunch of Japanese cards that you haven't been selling, that you're just kind of sitting on, you'd like to sell them, you didn't want to list them on eBay. Maybe it's more, they're not bulk, but they're kind of low end. Get them up on TCGPlayer because uh, I think there are enough cards now that, or there are plenty of cards still, Japanese cards that don't have listings. And if you're the only listing and someone's looking for that, they're going to buy it, even if you list it for a little bit higher than what it might go on eBay or some other place. So that would be my recommendation. Lastly, I'm I'm excited about this because I think it's easier to buy. Like I like to buy large collections, um, and I have found it's easier to buy large collections of Japanese cards at uh, better prices. I can get a lower percentage of market price on Japanese collections, and I think that's just because it's generally been harder to price Japanese cards. Um, so it it's just more difficult to kind of price out an entire collection, so you can kind of pick it up a little bit cheaper. So I think the margins could be a little bit better on Japanese cards on TCGPlayer, at least for now, until we have like really good uh, more sales, so that we can have uh, more reliable market prices. Um, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was, are these selling? Are are my Japanese cards selling? And at first, they weren't really. I was seeing maybe one in like 10 or one in 15 of my sales would include Japanese cards. But that has changed, uh, over the last week or so, week or two, especially with the Black Friday deal that TCGPlayer had. I've noticed, I mean, it's certainly not as much as my English cards sell, but I've noticed maybe one in five, one in seven of my orders now include Japanese cards. So I do think people are becoming more aware that Japanese cards are available on TCGPlayer, and the cards are selling more and more. So again, just another reason that if you don't have your Japanese cards up, I strongly recommend getting them up there. Give it a try. Um, so far, it's worked out great for me. So yeah, thanks everyone. So you, my colors are full of you. You teach me and I'll teach you.